The following episode of this podcast contains potentially triggering discussions about mental health struggles and eating disorders. Listener discretion is advised. Welcome to the Holistic Ritual. I am your host, Kamela Celeste. If this is your first time joining me, thank you so much for being here today. I'm so happy to have you. And if you are a returning listener, welcome back. I am really excited for the topic that we're discussing today. You are going to learn so much about how to track your progress when you come from a disordered eating background. I am going to be talking about actionable steps that you can take in order to track everything in a way that is holistic and is less centered on harsh metrics, like someone who has struggled with eating and thoughts about food and what they're consuming, or even has had a full-blown eating disorder. I talked a little bit about this on my intro episode, my most recent intro episode. I have another episode on eating disorders, what to look for, signs, just to make people more aware. And I have technically two intro episodes where I discuss kind of my personal background, how I struggled with an eating disorder, and where I came from with that, and my mental health and wellness journey over the years.
You're listening to The Holistic Ritual, a podcast for holistic health-minded humans seeking mind, body, spirit well-being. Hosted by Kamela Celeste, IIN holistic health coach and former personal trainer, with over a decade of experience helping humans become the best versions of themselves, both mentally and physically. Here, you'll discover meditations, affirmation readings, thought-provoking insights, and all things related to holistic health and healing. We blend Eastern and Western rituals, practices, and research to guide you on your wellness journey. Without further ado, let's get into the episode.
Let's get into our opening segment. So I wanted to draw an affirmation for you. As you may have learned in the last one, have some shuffle skills. Today, I just ask that whatever message you need to hear, that it finds you, Spirit speaks directly to you, and whatever you may need in this moment. I'll do another shuffle. Cut the deck. Your affirmation today is, I am capable. Obstacles are only as large as I believe them to be. I can achieve anything I desire with comfort and ease. I have all the necessary tools to reach my goals. When I lead with positivity and love, helpful people show up to aid my endeavors. I am capable. I have surely felt like it is going through mud as of recently. I don't know if it's because it's election season and that is a dumpster fire, or that the planets are in retrograde or something, which I am hoping to have on an astrologer so we can actually talk about all of that more in depth. It has felt tough recently, as far as just like mentally, my mind being everywhere, and really feel like it may be a collective thing, even just being out and about, people just being a little bit on edge. So if you have felt like there are obstacles in your path as of lately, just know that you are so capable, and they would not be in your path if you weren't the person to get through them. If you weren't equipped already with everything that you have or everything that you are going to learn to get through whatever you may be going through. So, that is that. Affirmations are also just a great way to gather some reaffirming insight from the outside world, from tapping into spirit, to source, and just kind of checking in with yourself and allowing and trusting that whatever card came up, maybe you are going through something that is very obvious, or maybe there's something internally that you haven't really been able to put into words. Um, Whatever it is, just know you're so capable of getting through that. Today will be a short and sweet little episode on tracking your progress after you've come from a disordered eating background or recovered from an eating disorder. And those two are actually very different terms. So, disordered eating might look like cutting up your food in different ways so that you think that you're eating less. So, different kind of patterns with disordered eating, or even just not being a full on eating disorder. So, an eating disorder, definitely listen to the episode on eating disorders that I did a couple of years back, which it shouldn't be too far down the line because, as you may know, the show took a 3-year hiatus. Um, Definitely listen to that. It goes a little bit more in depth on the different kinds of eating disorders to look for, and especially if you or someone that you know think you may have an eating disorder, lots of helpful resources for that. And that goes more into it being a chronic thing. So it is something that affects you every single meal, every single day, almost every single hour of every day, because you are constantly focused on food, how you look, and trying to negate any type of food that you may ingest is one form of an eating disorder. But I digress. Sometimes we go off on a little tangent. The first tip that I want to recommend that is something that's really truly helped me, as I know that when it comes to recovering from these things, and or even just being more mindful about how we approach food and not being so strict or so harsh, or even having some of those thought patterns that come up surrounding food, it can be a process of slowly reintegrating maybe some of these things, little by little, one thing at a time, perhaps. And for example, when I was heavy in the height of being super strict and regimented, whether it was because I was still in the thick of my eating disorder or post going to therapy and learning some of those tools, how I think and approach those thoughts, getting away from those really strict metrics can take time. So while I'm suggesting some of these things, and hopefully there was a trigger warning before this, so there are 6 things that I have to share with you today, 6 tips for tracking your progress. And the first one that I wanted to share is something that I've shared on my TikTok page before and my social media before. It is my wall calendar, and I will put somewhere over here or wherever, somewhere on the screen, if you are watching and not listening, what I mean by having a wall calendar or tracking it in my weekly planner. So instead of being very, very strict with tracking every single rep, I now only log the type of workout I did and the minutes. So I'm more focused on how many minutes a week I have been physically active instead of focusing on some other metrics like how much I weigh or how much weight I have lost. I think, especially when coming from a disordered background, that can be something that is a very slippery slope to focus on something like that. Even, I even thought that I could handle it going through competition prep, and that in itself was just a mask for continuing those habits and behaviors for them to be seen in the eyes of everyone else as it's okay because I'm competing. So my wall calendar and the weekly tracking on my weekly planner, I basically have different color codes for when I do some type of strength or resistance training workout and then a cardio workout. So I'm still aiming to do both because both are needed for bone health, for heart health, for longevity. And those are the two things that I'm tracking that go on my weekly planner. I do track some other things like journaling, when I meditate. If I'm standing at my desk, I have one of those like sit to stand kind of movable desks. And then if I'm reading or doing any type of podcasting, listening to podcasts, I should say. And those really, really help me to not only while I'm working at my desk for my day job, keep it at the front of my mind to say, hey, it's like 3 p.m. and you didn't work out yesterday or the day before. If you are feeling like you have energy for that, now would be a good time to maybe do that. And it just kind of is a notification that isn't something that's on my phone or anything, that has really helped me to not be super strict with that or with like guilting myself. So the other thing is my monthly overview. So my monthly wall planner, where I also track on there, I'll write down the specific type of exercise that I did. So for example, today I did Pilates before this, and then I also walked on my walking pad. So that would count for 45 minutes of Pilates and then walking an hour of cardio, technically. Very, very low pace, though, so nothing that's going to burn through our muscle, just walking as I'm working at my desk. Currently, right now, I am trying to lose a little bit of weight because I was diagnosed with PCOS, and I've been experiencing a bit of insulin resistance. I've been working with my healthcare practitioner in order to help me to reach my own goals that I am working on through diet, through exercise, through supplementation, and taking a more holistic approach for that. Back to the wall calendar, it is a way for me to visually see, okay, 2 weeks out of the 4 in the month, I only worked out a couple days a week. If I am trying to reach my goal, I'm going to need to at least put some more workouts on the board and really not focusing on doing anything super crazy, but more so focusing on how many times am I active? How many times am I moving my body? How many times am I taking care of my body? Am I honoring my body by working out, by doing some type of cardiovascular exercise? And so that has been really helpful for me. In the past, I really would guilt myself about, oh my God, I missed a workout. Like I need to go right now. And it would be like 11 o'clock at night or something. And I would just force myself to go, even if like I knew I needed to get a good night's rest. So sacrificing other parts of my health and well-being just for the sake of getting a workout in. Um, that is something that I no longer do. And I'm really, really proud of that. Tracking other metrics like steps, sleep, how many minutes a day you are active can be a bit more manageable, and a little less triggering than if you are focused on some of those hardcore metrics and guilting yourself. Something else to keep in mind as we go through this list: be kind to yourself. Be patient with yourself. Be gentle with yourself, especially if you are fresh out of recovery or you have really been doing the work in therapy or doing the work, the self work, the hard self work, period. It is a day by day thing. And progress is never going to look straight up. It's going to go through waves. You will go through ups and downs, and sometimes you may feel like you're backtracking, but just know that that is completely okay, and it is a part of the process. It's a part of the journey. That kind of leads me into the second point, which is take every meal just one meal at a time. Try to just focus on that meal. Coming from this background, it can be really frustrating because when you are constantly thinking about food, it takes up so much of your brain power, so much of your energy, just constantly thinking about food or exercise. When reintroducing this, just taking it meal by meal, day by day, workout by workout, and really checking in with your body and checking in with how you're feeling that day. How did you sleep the night before? And also, when it comes to taking it meal by meal, what nutrients are you craving? Have you had any greens today? Have you had protein with each meal? Instead of maybe focusing on how many calories or how many carbs or how many these really specific metrics, which comes with that background of being very, very strict with all of those. Instead of focusing on numbers, just focus on the contents. What does your plate include? I like to say, add things in before you start taking things away. So, if you really want some chocolate or a donut, before you have those things, try to add in some greens, add in some protein. Eat your veggies, eat some protein, and then if you still want the donut or chocolate or fries or whatever it is, have them. Having veggies first before you get into the rest of your meal helps prime your stomach for feeling full, as veggies contain lots of fiber. Protein is really going to help you also fill up. So, this is kind of like my own little hack of like, if you want something, do not deny yourself of it. As you know, some of us have probably learned, it's never about denying, it's always about approaching our thoughts surrounding food and not necessarily taking away bad foods, in quotation marks, bad foods, because we all need nourishment, we all need sustenance. Focusing more so on adding things in and less on taking things away or taking things and putting them in the category of off limits. It really is about balance. It really is about honoring your body in a way that is, you're getting the nutrients that you need, but you are also honoring your soul. And sometimes a chocolate chip cookie is just good for your soul. Another thing that goes with this point, besides from just focusing on the content of your plate, so adding veggies, adding a protein, adding a carbohydrate, adding a healthy fat, I like to just track my protein, especially because I'm focused on insulin resistance, and reversing that. So, having meals high in protein for every meal that you have helps with that blood sugar balance and blood sugar control. A way that I like to do that is this app called Protein Pal, and I'll put a screenshot of what it looks like. That is the only really metric that I track nowadays, just to ensure that I am actually hitting my protein goals, to make sure that I'm building muscle, which also helps with insulin resistance. And it makes it really simple because there are no other metrics on there. It is just tracking your protein. And I'm going to say a word, and it could be triggering. MyFitnessPal. Um, I used to be in that app like it was Instagram, like it was TikTok, just constantly worried about every single little metric in there. And so I know that I cannot use that app, still to this day. It has been several years since I've used it last. But this app, Protein Pal, is a hack and a helpful tool that I use for taking it meal by meal. And then number 3, kind of coming back around to something that I mentioned in the last point, was following the 80-20 rule. So in holistic health, I personally preach and believe that eating a diet that is 80% nutritious, whole foods, real food that comes from the earth and is in as close to its original form as possible, 80% of the time. And then 20% of the time, leaving room for intuitive eating, so not depriving ourselves. And this also comes with being able to enjoy a delicious meal with family, with friends, on special occasions, on holidays. So we aren't restricting and we aren't so focused on, oh my God, I can't wait until Friday, it's my cheat day, and then just living for that one meal. 80-20 rule, it has been so helpful as far as just being able for that to be something that is sustainable long term. And it is not a diet, it's just a way to eat that helps you get all the nutrients that you need, but still leaving room for that intuitive side to eating. And number 4 is something that you may not have heard of before, and it might sound a little bit weird, but tracking things other than just exercise, diet, and hydration. So when you think of fitness or health, a lot of people just think of those 3 things, but there is so much more to your health and well-being than just those 3 things. Part of practicing a holistic, healthy lifestyle, I also take things into account, like how is my social life? How is my sleep? Am I career fulfilled? Am I doing something that I enjoy at least? Am I learning things? Am I learning new things and being educated on topics that are interesting to me? How is my home environment? I know my brain is literally, I cannot function if my environment is messy and there are things all over the place. I already have ADHD and it just really feeds into that. So how is the home environment? How are my finances? A lot of people don't like to talk about finances. It can be a sensitive subject, but finances play such a huge role into your health and your well-being and your mental health. And it also has to do with like your root, your security, feeling okay in your body and having a calm nervous system that isn't in fight or flight all the time. That has to do with finances. Do I have a spiritual practice? That could be religion, that could be meditating, that could be um, journaling and spending time with yourself, spending time in nature. So, having some type of spiritual practice. How am I getting to be creative in my life? And if you're sitting there thinking that I am not a creative person at all, I don't enjoy that. Creativity could be as simple as rearranging furniture in your home. It could be crafting an email. Thinking outside the creative box of painting and drawing and some of those more artsier things that we associate with creativity. It could literally be as simple as rearranging a closet or drafting a very well thought out text message to a friend. Different ways to be creative, but we as human beings, we need that. We need creativity. And then joy. Do I have joy in my life? What are some things that bring me joy day to day, week to week, month to month? All of these components make up our health in the most holistic way. So, health and well being is so much more than just diet, exercise, and hydration. Tracking some of those things, I do have a video on my TikTok page and created a little tracker to be able to track those things. And it is just what I like to call the wheel of holistic health. And then you kind of just put pinpoints on there of where you feel. in each of those areas of your life. And then in a few months, you come back, you reassess, and you see how the circle changes, which is something that's really cool and something that my energy is better spent doing nowadays than just focusing on those three things. It encompasses, and you feel so much better when you think about all of those things versus just the three. Number 5 is gratitude, journaling, and meditation. I owe so much of my recovery and doing that hard self work to journaling, especially journaling. Having that one on one conversation with yourself and actually physically getting it out of your being, of your vessel, and putting it on paper. There's something about physically writing stuff down that just hits in a different way than typing it on a screen. Journaling to have a conversation with yourself. What do I mean by that? When you come from a disordered eating background, the thoughts that ruminate in your head over and over again, day after day, they need an outlet. They need somewhere to go. Because if not, then they just stay in your head and they circulate and circulate and circulate. And then maybe we push them down, then they resurface. They need an outlet. They need to get out of our body, out of our system, out of our mind. And so I practice morning pages. There's a wonderful book by Julia Cameron. It's called The Artist's Way, and it talks all about morning pages. And that is one of the resources for today, which I will leave in the show notes. But morning pages are a written journaling that you do first thing in the morning. It is just a conscious stream of thoughts. So you're not really thinking about what goes into it. You could literally just be sitting down writing, I am so tired. I don't want to do this. I'm writing these dumb pages. At first, that was a lot of what I did. I did not feel like doing it. But over time, they became a necessity for me. They became part of maintaining my mental health routine. Having that conscious stream of thought, getting those ruminating negative thoughts out and onto paper were a lifesaver, literally a lifesaver for me. Anytime that I am feeling overwhelmed with my emotions, I always reach for my journal because I feel so much better getting that out of my body, getting that out of my mind. My morning pages now kind of look like, if there's anything on my mind, I will write about that first and get it out. And then it's kind of shifted into gratitude and having gratitude for everything that I am so appreciative and grateful for going on in my life right now. The people, what I've gotten to experience, even just thanking my body for getting me to this moment, for being so strong, for being an able body, for getting to experience all 5 senses every single day, which is a luxury. Not everybody has that luxury. Those pages, journaling, gratitude, meditation, all together has really helped me progress my mental state and really just helped my recovery. Also, something that my therapist told me when we were working together on recovery is you never truly will never have an eating disordered thought again. It's something that you always have to deal with for forever. And that was really hard for me to sit with at first. But it is how you handle those thoughts whenever they come up, because they will come up and they will resurface. And it could be days, it could be months, could be years, but they will resurface. And having that toolkit, the morning pages, having a gratitude practice, having a spiritual practice, adopting some of these other things, going to therapy, having that toolkit just equips you for how to not let yourself succumb to those negative thoughts and to not be trapped in them. And that is so empowering, I feel like, to know that just by doing this small thing every single day can truly help so, so much. This leads me to our last point, which is number 6, how I look in a mirror and how I feel about my body. I put this one last specifically because mirrors at first can be very triggering. Looking at your own body can be triggering, as that kind of dips into the body dysmorphia territory. Body dysmorphia is a bitch. It is just so deceiving, and it's so hard, especially I think around, when your cycle's coming up or during your cycle. Your body looks different, but it really is hormones and different things that I have learned that I need to just talk myself through that. Like, I know this is not really truly how my body looks. I am grateful for my body in this moment. And kind of reframing that moment, letting me sit with that, but only for so long so that I have the opportunity to reframe that thought. And I, for the longest time, was not able to weigh myself, and I still really don't like the scale. It doesn't really tell you anything of value other than your body as a whole, not taking into account how much muscle you have, how much of that is your organs and your fascia, and how much is that is your brain, or it can't tell you all of those other things. For me, the scale is just the dumbest way to track someone's health. And so, really, going off of how you feel and how you look, if you are at a stage where you are able to start looking at mirrors again, that can be so much of a better thing to go off of than weighing yourself, especially also because weight fluctuates so much throughout the day. At 9 a.m. you could weigh one weight, at 3 p.m. you could weigh another weight, after a meal you could weigh another weight. It really doesn't tell you anything of value. Something that also has been really helpful is whenever you're ready to start incorporating these, saying mirror affirmations, looking at yourself in the eyes and saying an affirmation to yourself, finding one thing, just one, every day that you love about your body today. It could be the same thing every day for the next few months, but finding gratitude for something that your body does, something that you like about your body, your mind starts to look for things that it loves about your body and yourself. So it almost starts to rewire it to seek out, what do I love about my body? What cool things is my body able to do? Finding one thing at first, and mirror affirmations are such a huge help when it comes to tracking progress. And then the checking in with yourself piece, checking in not only with how you're feeling physically, how are you feeling mentally? How are you feeling emotionally? So, to review our 6 points here, one is visuals. So, weekly, monthly, having some type of visual that isn't very strict, but that you can look forward to. I can't wait to write down what I did today for my workout. Or I can't wait to see at the end of the month how many of these little blocks on my monthly calendar are colored in. So, weekly, monthly visuals. Number 2, taking it one meal at a time. Number 3, the 80-20 rule. 4, holistic metrics. So taking in the holistic wheel of health, tracking those things. 5, journaling, meditation, gratitude practice. And 6, how you look and feel in the mirror and mirror affirmations. All of these 6 things allow me to no longer worry about or constantly think about, and I'm just going to read off this list from my notes down here. Not weighing myself, reducing myself to metrics and numbers, not weighing my food, not tracking calories. It also allows me way less room to shame myself and shame my body, not thinking about food 24/7. And then I don't have consuming anxiety at gatherings that include food. It used to be going to a Mother's Day brunch or going to Thanksgiving or going to a Christmas party, always thinking about foods and how I would not be able to eat anything there, to now giving myself grace, allowing myself grace, and just allowing myself to live, to have that freedom to do those things, to eat delicious food, and then to know that the next day or the next meal, even after that, I have the opportunity to go back to eating those whole foods and focusing more on proteins, carbs, healthy fats. I'm no longer doing hours of cardio with the intention for punishment or feeling like I have to be so sweaty after that. And then no longer having the consuming anxiety if I miss a workout. So just thinking about how much different life is without doing all of those things, I just have found such an appreciation for myself and have a new outlook on life, especially approaching it in a more holistic and balanced way. And so for the closing segment, I wanted to read a poem that I wrote a few years ago, just really thinking about people who have struggled with eating disorders, disordered eating, and I hope that it resonates. This one's called For You. For you who stands there, gazing in the mirror, judging your body, picking at your skin, wishing it away, wishing it were different. Reconsider, my dear, because you are so much more than your physical self, more than a body fat percentage, more than skin folds and imperfections. You are beautiful, so, so incredibly beautiful in more ways than you know in this moment. And I know it's a struggle, uncovering a deep love of self and appreciation for all that you are. But it starts by reconsidering right now as you catch yourself judging and speaking unkind words to yourself in your head. Reconsider and thank your body for bringing you to this moment. Thank your body for housing inside the beautiful and unique soul that is you. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope that you found so many helpful tips on how to approach your progress in a more holistic and healthier way, especially if you come from a disordered eating background. Until the next one, I'm your host, Kamela Celeste, signing off.